I like to think of life as a river, starting at a source and slowly making its way down to the wide open. It might hit a few rocks on its path, slow down and speed up at certain points, but it always moves in one direction and it never stops. Every so often, I find myself looking through my old photo gallery at the years that have come before. And for a long time, I didn't really feel anything when I looked through those photos. It was just snapshots of my life, no good or bad connections to them. But over the last couple of years, I find myself looking at old photos with a sense of pride. Not of who I was, but of the changes I've made. You'd hardly recognize me 2 years ago, mainly because I had hair. How the times have changed. But I would spend a good part of 6, probably more hours on video games a day, and that was often under the influence of recreational drugs. I had dark, baggy eyes that constantly had a glaze over them, and I was studying an art course at the time that I just had no passion behind and would hardly do any of the work outside of school hours. To say it plainly, I was sort of a total mess. It wasn't until I signed up to a fitness class called F45 and I met a guy called Ben who gave me my first actual advice around fitness, which opened my eyes to a whole new world I had no idea existed. I had what I can look back and say, a tiny crack in the door and a glimmer of light shining into a dark room. But like all changes, I pushed it off. I talked about it, thought about it, ruminated on it. It wasn't until a few months passed when my flatmate was out for the weekend and I had a few days alone where I decided to use Audible's 1 free credit and pick up a free audiobook called Atomic Habits. Now, I used to hear people say, this book changed my life, and I would always think, there's no way a single book can change someone's life. And that was coming from someone who'd never ever read a non-fiction book. I was about to eat my words, because Atomic Habits changed my life. The concepts talked about in the book were all stuff I'd heard before. Things that you would see on Instagram posts, like 1% better every day and you can hit your goal. You know the ones. But how we talked about the concepts in the book just clicked my brain in a way that hadn't been done before. Sort of like an epiphany. It was this idea that because we now live in an age of freedom and security, we can confidently look 5, 10, 15 years into the future and be confident that we're still going to be alive. So every decision we make isn't something that's just going to affect us in the present day and maybe the next couple of days. We also have to consider the community of you that you're going to become. You pretty much know for certain you're still going to be alive in the next 5 or 10 years. So whether you want to admit it or not, the decisions you make today are going to affect that community of you that you're yet to become. I like to think of it like a bit of a township. And every new day, a new person is elected to run the town. And every decision he makes affects all the other town members. You're not just making decisions for yourself anymore. And for me, that was the light bulb that turned me from short-term thinking into long-term thinking. I started projecting my life into 5 and 10 year time spans. Yeah, I could endure my art course for another year or so, but then what? I needed to do something I had internal passion in. Something I could do for years and years, and for me, that was fitness. So I took the plunge. I dropped out of my course, I signed up to study health and fitness, and I embarked on my own journey of change. And just in the last 3 years, I've accomplished more than I did in the first 20. I managed to take myself from someone who was lost in life, unsure where to go, to having clarity, direction, and the self-accountability to do so. So now that you're all caught up, maybe you're someone who knows where they are in life isn't really where they want to be, but they're not too sure where they want to go. So let's look at how to unfuck your life. So what does a fucked life look like anyway? Well, if we go back to that river analogy, I'd say a fucked life is a river that has a pile of junk just thrown into it, and it's clogging up that natural flow of water. That could look like bad sleeping habits, keeping you in a constant state of low energy and low mood. It might be a job you hate, sucking up 75% of your mental cognition, leaving you in a constant state of anxiety. Or it could just be the overwhelming weight of existence bearing down on you and the fear that it'll just never go away. Just to name a few that I've experienced. To put it simply, it's just a lack of direction in life. You wouldn't get into a car without at least having some vague idea on which way you want to drive. Except this isn't a car, it's your entire existence. And if you don't find a direction to go, someone else will. So why fitness? Well, I'll start with the main one. You look better. Like, that alone should be enough to sell you. But you also gain another layer of confidence. I lost my hair at 21, and all through my teenage years, it was a huge insecurity for me. If I didn't spend time in the gym, working on myself and my mental state, my hair loss would have ruined me. probably for life. But I started early into fitness and I built confidence in other aspects of my life before my insecurities drowned me. But this isn't just about hair loss. You might be insecure about your height. I had a close friend who had a really bad case of acne that was super tough for him. We've all got insecurities, and you can either let it rule you, or you can go through that initial discomfort of building up those habits that are going to give you confidence in other aspects of your life. It's also going to give you something to line your sights onto. For me, I didn't see a future in my art course, and that lack of direction bled into all other aspects of my life. I couldn't see a prosperous future in myself, which meant people just didn't want to give me the time of day because I didn't radiate any security and trust in myself. But I always knew I wanted to have a nice body. And even if it didn't lead into a career or financial success, it was still a necessary path I knew I wanted to go down. And even if everything else in life was stagnant, at least I was making progress in one domain of life. Let's do a quick experiment. I want you to close your eyes and think about the dream person you want to become. It's not who you think you'll be, it's who you want to be. What type of body does he have? Now the answer isn't always just jacked, muscular guy. You might want a more athletic, slimmer build, and that's totally cool. But I'm so confident nobody is closing their eyes and imagining themselves fat. Fitness is a choice right now, but if you don't make the choice, eventually it's just gonna kick your door down and come in anyway. So you might as well do it now and reap the rewards for the rest of your life. It's also gonna give you a good reason to start eating a little bit healthier, looking after your sleep, and just generally getting out of the house and being around more people, especially fit girls, which is going to help you overall just clear your head and start removing some of that brain fog you've probably built up doing all the bad habits. The self-confidence you build up from making these lifestyle changes is going to give you the armor you need to enjoy the hard choices life's going to throw at you, because they will come in all shapes and sizes. For me, that hard decision was dropping my course and pursuing fitness. For you, it might be the complete opposite. It might be finishing your course and then needing the self-confidence to apply for a job you might have otherwise thought was out of your skill level. Or just as simple as asking the boss for a pay raise, or just pushing back on things you don't agree with. A common thing I hear is people skipping their health and fitness because making money at work seems more important. But that's like stepping over dollars to pick up cents. There's a reason exercise is the most common habit between millionaires. It's a moneymaker in itself. So I want to end with a quote that always resurfaces when I'm in a position where I know I want to make a change, but I'm just not sure if it's the right change to make. It's far easier to steer a moving ship than one sitting in the dock. It's going to be far easier to dive into something and then correct course while you're in the water than to try and figure it all out while you're still sitting at the docks. There's no downside to trialing a free week at a gym or trying out a fitness class. At worst, you'll get a chance to do something that's a little bit uncomfortable and get a little bit of gym experience while you're at it, and at best, it might be the day you look back with a sense of pride at the day you decided to change your life. So if you're sold, go on Google right now and search up closest gyms. See if any of them offer a free trial and give it a shot. You owe it to yourself. And if you're fucking too lazy, I've got another video right here that's gonna help you build an exercise habit without the need of motivation or discipline that you're probably gonna need. Otherwise, that's me signing off.